So this is Tyson's dinner tray that is not in the barn in his stall already because I have to give him medication. Not that it's supposed to be one of those Captain Obvious statements, but make sure when you're going to give your horse oral medications that you don't put them in their stall and already have food or hay in there, or they have a mouthful of grass, because it's really simple for them to just spit out the cigar of whatever they've got in their mouth and you lose all your medication. I'm not trying to be Captain Obvious, just adding that as preemptive. So I'm going to show you how. This one will stand here. Okay, I'm hoping that when I bring him in, you're going to get a good enough view of him. But I want to show you how I put his medications together. So he gets 14 SMZs twice a day for 10 days. We're still in the beginning of this, so he's very unhappy and skeptical about anything I do right now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14. Now, he's also getting albuterol. Okay, so it's not a terrible tasting thing as far as they're concerned. So what I do, he gets 10 mLs. And so what I do is I take a smaller syringe. Got one standing up on end here. Okay, so I take a smaller syringe that fits in the beginning of this one, and I squirt the syrup right in on top of those SMZs. You can also pull back if you want. You can do however you want to do it. Okay. The reason I'm doing it that way is because if it doesn't taste terrible and the SMZs needed something to dissolve in, we might as well have them dissolve in something flavorful versus something gross, right? Or something plain like water. So I like to make sure that I try to make this as pleasant as possible. So I'm not going to let that soak very long. Before I start shaking it. So now that's full of water. Because I want to make sure that they dissolve without getting cakey, because in a minute they'll start getting cakey if you allow it to just dissolve, like you squirt water in there or whatever and you leave it. And then once it gets cakey, it gets kind of a challenge to move around. You know, it gets stuck onto the plunger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 squirt of water in there right now. Actually, you know what, I'm not going to. I'm actually going to let it soak because I have to get the horse in the barn. And then I'm going to put 2 more syringes of just water in there. So I kind of just contradicted myself because I am going to let it soak. But I'm going to let it soak on its side so it's not actually caking down onto the plunger. I'm going to push pause and I'm going to go get a horse. Okay, so I'm going to put him in his stall so I can finish the medication. He does preparing the medication. He does not have any food or hay in here. Oops, I'm going to leave that on. Sorry. Just making he knows he's not done. Okay, so that got kind of cakey. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some water. See if you can't just get it to move around a little bit. Add some more water because, like I said, it gets real cakey. You're going to want to be able to, you know, shake it around and get, there we go. I try not to do, so the albuterol was basically 2 syringes and then 2 water syringes. I try not to kill them with too much liquid, you know. You don't want it to be so pasty that they can just spit it out, but you don't want so much liquid that you have a 10-minute syringe process. So I am going to do one more water, just to make it so it's a little bit easier to, a little thinner. There we go. Make sure that, hold it up to the light, make sure that it's traveling and that it's not stuck somewhere else, and you're going to end up with just a clump of something. If it does seem to be clumping, like this is kind of clumping, you don't want to do that. If it is clumping on the plunger there, you really want to shake it until it's not, because if your horse is going to agree with you a little bit to get this done, he's not going to agree with you for multiple. Still plunged. So this is I always say don't let it soak. I'm trying to do this for video purposes, so I was letting it soak. I should have done all this with the horse already inside. I may end up having to do one extra thing of water because it is too gooey and it's not freeing itself off of the plunger. So okay. There we go. There. Okay. So now I can see it's no longer on the plunger. Whew. But you're going to want to make sure you take all the air out of it, so that way, once you do get it in their mouth, you're not just spending all your time pushing air out. You know what, let me see where we're at with that. Maybe we have to move it, or can move it closer, so you can see better what I'm actually doing. Okay. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to stand on his right side. Okay. Okay, I know this part sucks. So I put my hand in through the bottom of the halter, and then I put my hand on top of his nose. This kind of keeps us connected, so I'm not chasing him around. And then I'm just going to talk to his mouth with my thumb. Let him know that, that's it. We're not going to do anything terrible. That's it. Good. Get your syringe ready. Don't, mess with it when you're right there. Once you get their mouth open, go as far back in their mouth as you can, so that way it's not sitting on their lips or on the bottom of their tongue. Hold their head up a little bit so they have to swallow it. They don't spit out as much as he's spitting out. So they tend to hold it too. He's holding it because there's too much water in it. So I gotta hold him up a little bit more this time than I normally do. You gotta swallow it, bud. I know you don't want to do that, but you have to. Yeah. And then, usually once I get that, I'll make sure I have cookies or something yummy for them so his dinner's ready for him. Okay? Make sure that, he doesn't feel like this was a wasted effort on his part to be a part of your torturous game here. And your good boy, tell him that you're sorry. And then let him know. Unfortunately, his dinner tastes a little funny too, because we're treating for the a preventative sand colic treatment, which is the orange flavored Metamucil, which is psyllium husk. It helps encapsulate any sand grains that might be in their stomach and help them pass it with the manure instead of collecting in their stomach and causing sand colic. And that's a pretty awful thing for them to have to deal with. So that's Tyson being medicated today, and I'm hoping that was visible enough that you could see that he's actually terrible, but he's been pretty good for this treatment. And I do believe it has a little bit to do with the albuterol soak first, So what I might do in the future is maybe a strong apple juice, like an all natural apple juice, but like a potent one, something that has a lot of flavor, and maybe do that as my initial soak on my SMZs. I think I would always want to try to alter the flavor of the SMZs, and you might have a horse that could tolerate it better. He's going to be on the albuterol for the same duration of time that he's on the SMZs, so I'm going to do it that way. But it's just a thought that you might want to change up how you soak your SMZs. I always take in consideration how I'm making my horse feel.